Want to know how to create this Merry Christmas banner inside Cricut Design Space? Well, then stay tuned for this step-by-step tutorial. Hi, my name is Kim with Kimagine DIY, where I hope to help you imagine the possibilities with DIYs and crafts. If that sounds like fun, consider subscribing. Now let's just jump right into this project. Let's open up Cricut Design Space. First, go over to Images and type in Banner. And in your filters, select Free. I chose this one here and then click Add to Canvas and go over to your Contours button and hide all your contours. Then I wanted to change the shape, so I added a pentagon and made my banner about 7 inches wide. Then select your pentagon and make it 7 inches wide as well. Then you'll go over here to flip it vertically. Then select both the banner and pentagon, go over to Align and click Center horizontally. Then I zoomed into my project using the Y-axis to fine-tune the measurement. Select both shape and then go over to Combined and select Weld. Now that I have my welded result, I'm going to unlock the dimensions and change my height to 9.5. And I'm also going to change the color to white. Now we can go over to Offset. I like this rounded edge and make the offset larger to 1/2 inch and select Apply. I'm going to change the color to gold because that's the look that I want. And now zoom out and go over to the text. I downloaded a free font that will be linked in the description box below. And I changed my font size to 175. I decided to type all my letters out in capital. Then select your Merry Christmas, right-click, and go over to Ungroup so they're all individual letters. Just to space them out evenly, I grabbed 2 letters, highlighted all of the Christmas, and then you're going to go over to Align and distribute horizontally. And I did the same thing with the top. Select a letter, spread it out, highlight them all, and then go to Align and distribute horizontally. So selecting my 2 banner shapes, I'm just going to align at center. And without grouping, I'm just going to highlight them and hit Control C and Control V to duplicate them. And I'm duplicating one for each letter and also another one for 2 design elements on either side of the Merry. Next, you want to select just the white banner and the letter. Go over to Align, click to center, and then you can go over to the Slice button or use the hotkeys. And then you can delete your excess cuts. Since I have a couple repeating letters, I'm just going to copy and paste. For your other letters, you're going to repeat the process. Select just the white banner and your letter, go over to Align, click center, and then slice it out. During this process, you don't have to worry about it being so perfect right now in terms of aligning each banner center. I just like everything looking somewhat visually appealing as I work on my project. But I have only a couple of sheets of 2 different colors, so I'm just cutting out a square just large enough to cover my letter area. So for the M, it's about a 6x6 square. And since I'm having 2 different color cardstock, I'm going to have them represented in 2 shades of blue. You can select everything and highlight it to center so you have a good idea to make sure that everything is covered. And then I decided to make the 2 blues cardstock alternating colors. And a reminder to save your project along the way because this is a lot of steps. Don't forget, you are able to use hotkeys to move layers forward and back. And just because I like everything to look right, I am just centering each stack of papers and saving it. Next, I'm going to grab my design element. So I'm going over to Images, And I'm typing reindeer and make sure that free button is selected. I like this reindeer guy. Make him a 5.5 inches wide. So just like you did with the letters, to select the white banner and your image, click center and slice it out. You can delete your excess. I duplicated the reindeer and then went over to flip and flipped it horizontally. And then I just centered them onto the banner again. Go back to images, type in Snowflake, select that free filter, and I picked this one because it's a little bit simple. I wanted to add a little bit more of a design element that I wanted to draw it on. So you're gonna go over to Operations, click Pen, and then click that color box to the right of it. I'm switching it to a marker and just picking a silver or a gray color just so it would look relatively close to the look that I was going for. Then make the full snowflake every other one and then create a design element on the bottom of the other ones. I'm just grabbing a banner and going over to contours to hide all of the contours. Then duplicating a snowflake. We're just gonna zoom on in to get a better look. Select both the snowflake and the banner and go over to Align and center horizontally. Go over to Slice or use your hotkeys. Now keep the drawing and you can delete everything else. Zoom back out and duplicate and put it on the other banners that don't have a design. So now that I have all my design elements in, I can start grouping them together. What's great is now you can label your group, which will make it easier to understand if you decide to recreate this project. But now I need to attach the snowflake drawing to the white banner with both of them selected, center horizontally, and align bottom to get it all perfect and even. Then you can right click on it and hit attach. Now that I have that made, I decided to just duplicate that for the repeating letters. Since that banner stack is done, I'm going to select it all, go over to Align, click Center, and then group it. And I'm just going to label it Group M. You will do the same process again for all layers, but don't immediately group and then try to attach the two layers. You can see it will just change everything. So first, just select only the snowflake and the white banner. Make sure the alignment is center, then you'll attach it. Then you can select the entire stack of layers, group it together, and name it. I'll show you again closer. So you want to grab your white banner layer and your snowflake, select both of them, align bottom and center horizontally, click attach or right click and decide to attach it that way. Then you can group the stack together and label it. It's a little bit of a process, but remember you only have to do this once and then you can recreate it. And remember to save your project. Now that everything is grouped for future use, we're going to go over to Make It. And you can see all the layers. I also just wanted to double check that it would fit on the cardstock that I was using, and it does, which is great. So for the white layer, I was using some medium cardstock, and the gold was heavy cardstock, so I just went over to Browse Materials to select the heavy. Then just use your standard grip mat, align your paper on it, and use a brayer to completely flatten it out. For the detail on the snowflakes, I use these jelly roll pens in this metallic aqua, and I have this awesome third-party adapter that will use other types of pens for your Cricut. It will also be linked in the description box below. Then watch your amazing Cricut machine draw out your snowflake and cut the banners. And then carefully weed your project off your mat. For the banners, it's always recommended to flip it over and peel the mat back so you do not curl your paper. Now it's time to glue your layers together. I use tacky glue just around the letter edge and carefully place your cardstock down to make sure it covers everything. Then I flipped it over to use my scraper to smooth out the glue. And reminder, if you're using 2 different color cardstocks like I am, to use the proper cardstock for the letter that you need. I kept referencing the design in Cricut Design Space to make sure that I was doing the right color for each one. Letters like the R will be a little bit tricky. So after you glue the exterior R, you're going to place the cutout back inside to use it as a template to glue the inner piece. As you can see here, I actually glued the wrong R inner piece. It was supposed to be the one with the drawing on it. So I did have to rip it off and put the correct one on later. When you're starting to glue the white banner to the gold, I just eyed it up as best as possible and was using my brayer to smooth everything out, making sure that the glue didn't come too close to the end so it doesn't spill out over onto the gold paper. There are many ways you can hang a banner. You can put those slit cuts into Cricut Design Space if you prefer to thread it that way. I did not want any string showing on the top of my banner, so I decided to hang it from the back. And what's great is I was able to use the scrap, so I decided to just cut it out by hand. I cut 2-inch strips. Then you can fold it in half to get a guide, and then in 2/4 flaps on the inside. And then you kind of get this little TP type of shape. You're gonna put 2 on each banner. I lined it up on the banner just where the banner was about to curve over. Then I used hot glue to adhere it for just a faster gluing time. And be careful because it is hot. I did burn myself as usual with my hot glue. And I also make sure you glue these paper pieces close to the outer edge. Now, I'm not a fan of permanence, so you can glue the string to your banner if you want, and it would make this process a lot easier, but I like versatility and be able to change things later. So I decided to thread it a different way. First, I'm leaving about 3 feet on the end, and then just doing one loop at the edge. When you string up this banner, you still want to go in order like you would read it, since you're working with the banners face down. If it's the top line, you're starting with Mary, you're gonna have the deer, then the MERRY, and the reindeer. The first time I did it completely wrong, and I did the whole thing backwards and had to redo it all over again. So I also decided to space about 1 inch between the banner. But I'm always making the right piece the spot where I loop, so it would lock it in place to keep the spacing. And just use a piece of blue tape on the end to help you thread it. I started to get the hang of it to be able to do it faster. I loop it through the right one, and then I can thread it through 3 of them, and then pull it all the way through, and then do it again. I also use a jar just to help to keep the string untangled. Thread it through, loop it around the jar, and then you can thread it back through that one, plus these 2, and pull it all the way out. And continue all the way across until the last one where I looped it at the end to lock it in that way. It looked awesome once everything was hung up. I loved how big of a statement this was because I made the banner so large. I wanted to take up my wall, and it was great. I also loved how reflective the gold cardstock was and the metallic jelly roll. You can really see it catch the light in person. Thank you guys so much for watching. If you'd like to see more videos like this, you can click the card right up here or click here for an entire Christmas DIY playlist. And I will see you guys in the next video.